Metallic epoxy floors are fun. In this video, we're going to show you how to prep your floor from start to finish. Using small hand tools is no problem. We're going to teach you step by step how to do a 3D metallic epoxy floor like a pro. Mix and match color to create the perfect floor for your own space. Visit us anytime at stonecoatcountertops.com. Enjoy the video. Remember, when you subscribe to our channel, click on the red subscribe button and be sure to ring the bell so you get notified every time we have a new video. Thanks again.
Okay guys, one of the first steps for preparing a concrete floor for metallic 3D epoxy is simple. We're going to clean out the cracks and crevices and the control joints using a diamond blade on our angle grinder. What I like to do is simply tape my hose to my vacuum using Gorilla Tape so it doesn't come loose, and then I like to join my cords. Everything stays tidy and it makes the project go a little bit smoother. Okay, I want to show you what we're going to clean out. This is a control joint and it's been filled with just some seam fill and it's really hit and miss where it's stayed in. We're going to remove that. You can also see this hairline crack going right down the slab here. We're going to open that up bigger with the diamond blade, and then we'll fill that so it doesn't ghost through the epoxy. We're also going to take our razor knife and we're going to score the wall just above this baseboard. The reason we do that is so we don't pull the face paper if any of the caulking or glue is still attached at the top here where this base trim meets the wall. Okay, I'll do that around the perimeter and we'll get everything set up. When you're doing a small floor, you don't need large floor equipment. We're going to use a hand grinder and a vacuum system to suck up the dust while we profile the floor to get it prepped to accept epoxy. There we go. Holy cow. We've initially cleaned up this floor. We've chased all of the cracks and control joints with our diamond grinder. Now we're going to profile the entire floor with our diamond cup wheel by hand. It shouldn't take that long because it's a small space. After that, we'll clean up all the concrete dust and we'll be ready for the next step. We're going to use our floor patch to fill the saw cuts now. Just like many of our other formulas, our floor patch will expand and contract and move a little bit so that it won't crack and let go of that joint. Also, what I like about mixing this is when it's a uniform color, you know you've gotten your mix nice and thorough. Let's go ahead and over butter those joints right now, let them set up, and we'll be prepared for tomorrow. I like to leave the excess floor patch on my sacrificial board so that I can know when it's actually cured by touching this and not my control joints. What we're going to do now is take our 50 grit metal sanding disc and we'll feather out any high points and humps and bumps and get our floor nice and flat. This will prep us for our prime coat on our 3D metallic epoxy floor. I got a little bit of goo epoxy yesterday here. Get that high point gone. All right, we got everything feathered out nice so there's not a big ridge anywhere. We're gonna clean up in here, get rid of all the dust, do a final wipe down, and then we're ready for our prime coat. Let's go. It's always a good idea to check for excess moisture in your slab trying to escape. By putting the plastic down and letting 24 hours pass, we're going to see if there's excess moisture trapped between the plastic and our raw slab to ensure that we have an excellent bond between the epoxy and the concrete floor. It's really important to use the proper roller cover when doing your epoxy floor. This is the brand that we love because it doesn't leave fibers into our epoxy. This works excellent. Everything that we're using in this video will link in the description. It can also be found on our website under our flooring tutorials. Visit us anytime at stonecoatcountertops.com. Hey guys, great news. We've done the hard work for you. We have printable, step-by-step instructions so you remember every pro tip in this entire video. Just go to the card, follow the arrow, and check it out anytime at stonecoatcountertops.com. We have an optional flooring top coat. It's called our Easy Top Coat. It's made for your epoxy floor, and the video's coming soon to show you how simple it is to apply by hand. Make sure you subscribe and ring the bell so you get notified every time we have a new video. Thanks again. Spike shoes are always an option when doing epoxy flooring. When you're doing a small job, you can always work your way out of the room towards the doorway and avoid the need for spike shoes. But to have them on hand is always a bonus. Wherever you're going to place your tools to rest for the end of the day, you want a landing pad. So we're going to put a piece of OSB as our sacrificial floor where we'll leave our spike shoes or our roller skins or anything of that nature, so we don't track epoxy into the rest of the job site that we don't want it to be. Okay, what we're going to do is measure this space so we can figure out how much epoxy we're going to use for this size floor. It's always good to err on the side of caution, and if you add a little bit, you're going to be safe when you calculate your final measurements. Each of our kits will do about 100 square feet. That includes the prime coat as well as the top coat and all the metallic necessary to complete that project. So for 144.5 square feet, we're going to need about 1.5 kits. So I'll use 2 kits and save the excess for a future project. That's dry as a bone, we're ready to proceed. We're gonna always add metallic additive to our floor epoxy. On this prime coat, I'm gonna add black. And then on the top coat, I'm gonna add a combination of deep silver and white. I think this is gonna give us a beautiful looking floor, very deep and 3-dimensional. Keep in mind, I'm only mixing enough right now to do our edges. After that, I'll mix enough to do the rest of the field. Our floor epoxy is a 2-to-1 ratio. It's also a thinner viscosity, so it goes a long way on a floor. So keep that in mind. In this case, I'll do part A and then part B at a 2-to-1 ratio. Shake your metallics up before you unscrew the lid. This will break them up and make it disperse better into the epoxy. Doing a floor epoxy system is 2 coats. Your first coat is your prime coat. We're going to apply this at 300 square feet per gallon to trap the air and seal the slab. The second coat is at 100 square feet per gallon, and that's to give the beauty and the marbling and really allow those colors to mold and flow. All right, we're going to mix up enough for the field now. Let's do it. Our floor epoxy is much easier to mix than our countertop epoxy because the viscosity is much thinner. Keep that in mind, but mix it thoroughly. You want to break up and disperse those metallics really well. Before tomorrow, when we do our flood coat, we're actually going to add our metallics into part A. We're going to mix it very thoroughly into part A and let it rest overnight so that it really mixes and disperses and we don't get any tadpoles on our top coat of our floor. All right, it's time to roll the prime coat out. We got the perimeter all cut in. We got our metallic added to our first coat. We're just gonna roll it nice and tight and get even coverage so that we block any air from coming up through that slab into our final flood coat. I'm gonna work my way out of the room. I'm not putting my spiked shoes on. This is a small project. I don't need to come back and overwork the material, so I'm just gonna work my way backwards out towards the doorway. All right, that was smooth. We'll let that dry and we'll come back tomorrow and do our flood coat. It's a good practice to pre-mix all of your metallic powders into part A the day before you're gonna pour your actual floor. Pro tip, by mixing slow with a yardstick, we don't entrain a bunch of air into our floor epoxy. This gives us a better overall finish and a finer looking metallic floor. The thing that I like about these mixing containers is the 2-to-1 ratio. They have all the different ratios printed on the side. So I know if I bring my first number up to 4, that will be our 2 column. And then I'll come up to the number 4 here. That will be our 1 column, which will give us a 2-to-1 ratio. Shake it before you bake it. We're going to shake up our metallic so that it disperses nice. It helps it break it up a little bit. But one thing that I like about all of our metallic pigments is they're a very fine micron. They disperse well. They're the right particle size. We're going to take our time while mixing our metallics into our part A. We're not going to be in a hurry. We don't want to entrain a bunch of air because we want a flawless finish tomorrow. Mixing your floor epoxy is probably the most important aspect of the entire pour. Make sure it's done correctly, don't be in a hurry, and have somebody dedicated to that aspect if you're doing a large-scale project. Just have a mixer and you'll know that each batch is measured correctly. This is why I love metallic additives. That is gorgeous. Oh my goodness. Okay guys, it's been just under 24 hours. Our floor is set up, but because it hasn't been 24 hours or longer, we don't need to sand between coats. You can always sand and wipe with acetone or denatured alcohol to be safe, but I know that it's going to have a good adhesion because it hasn't surpassed that 24-hour mark. Okay, everything is dispersed beautifully. It's time to add the part B to activate our part A, and then we have about 45 minutes of working time to get our materials spread on the floor. Don't leave them in the bucket. Get it out on the floor so that you have plenty of working time. That metallic pigment looks beautiful. I love just one color. That actually could be a floor in and of itself, but by adding an accent color gives it just that next step of wow. Okay, all I need is a magic trowel and a weenie roller to do the effect that I'm going to do with these two colors. Let's pour it out, squeegee it, back roll it together, and have a good time and see what we come up with. And I like putting my accent on top, not underneath, because that'll leave a big impression. Awesome. All right, time to weenie roll this together, and we'll be all done with the floor. Let it set up.
Pro tip, if you want a glass-like finish, get a torch head. It'll pop all the bubbles and leave your 3D epoxy slick as glass.
What do you clean your tools with when you're all done troweling out the epoxy? Acetone is a great choice. We're going to clean our magic trowel and our weenie roller frame with acetone, and we'll be ready for our next job. Okay, that magic trowel will be good as new for our next pour. It's nice and clean. I'm going to let our floor set up, and then we'll come back tomorrow and show you what it looks like.